The lawmakers wanted to effectively end the legislative session tomorrow. That was the plan. In fact, I think it was the 22nd, then it was the 29th. Now we're maybe pushing it back, obviously, because there's still a lot to be done.
TBD.
At the State House. In fact, lawmakers are still pitching some new ideas, trying to tackle even some big topics like, I don't know, illegal immigration at the state level. House State Affairs passed legislation that kind of addresses that today.
Yeah, this is a pretty big solution, a pretty big mechanism that Idaho's taking a look at here late in the session, so we'll tell you about it. House Bill 753, it creates new crimes dealing with illegal immigration, specifically in the state of Idaho. And the legislation uses the term alien, and the definition of that under United States Code. An alien legally means any person not a citizen or national of the United States. So the bill would make it, quote, a misdemeanor upon a first conviction and a felony for subsequent offenses for an alien to enter or attempt to enter the state of Idaho directly from any other foreign nation at any location other than a lawful port of entry. So the legislation would also give Idaho judges, magistrates, expansive new powers to order certain aliens to return to the foreign nation from which that person entered or attempted to enter from. Refusal to follow that would be a felony. And the legislation also says that if a non-citizen is found under this law, they will be processed for fingerprints, photos, biometric data, basically just everything they need to have to record this person officially as a non-citizen. Bill sponsor Jaron Crane explains why he pitched this late in the session, and a major key, he believes the federal government not doing their job.
The goal of this legislation is to close down the borders, use our law enforcement that's already in place. These guys know how and what to do. This allows them to ask some questions that they need to ask to find out if someone is here as an illegal alien. You'll see the definition of alien on page 1, and then be able to process accordingly. They then go before a magistrate, and the magistrate's going to ask them, would you like to go ahead and leave, or are you going to stay? And if they stay and this happens again, they're going to be facing a felony.
So, as you can imagine, there are some major criticisms about the legislation, which, by the way, it's modeled off of a Texas law that is currently caught up in the courts. But criticisms of the Idaho law include impacts on the workforce, lack of humanity, and a waste of Idaho taxpayer dollars. It's also pointed out in testimony by an expert from the American Immigration Lawyers Association that the proposed Idaho law may not even be legal.
Article 6, paragraph 2 of the U.S. Constitution. The federal government has a broad constitutional powers in determining what aliens should be admitted to the United States and not the states. Representative Craig argues that Article 1, Section 10 gives the state power to set rules to protect the border in case of an invasion. However, no such invasion exists between the border of Canada and Idaho. There is no data of that such inflection, so this bill is unconstitutional.
So it's late in the legislative session, or maybe it's not. I guess we'll find out. But this now goes to the full Idaho House. Brian, I know there are some questions about the legality of this in terms of like, whoa, you know, can you just stop anybody on the street and ask for their ID? In terms of practice, we would have to see. But there is a part of Idaho code that says if you're driving a car and you are pulled over by law enforcement, if they ask to see your ID, you do have to give it to them. So I know there's also been questions about what if other people in the car and what about their immigration status. So this is going to go to the full House late in the session, though. Big idea.
Well, according to the federal government, this is a U.S. Department of Justice thing. Not a magistrate judge. This is an immigration court that hears a case like this, and then they judge their rules for deportation. Then ICE takes care of it after that, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But you could also leave voluntarily, but I just don't see how they can just bypass federal rules and regulations on that.
I guess the courts will let us know. Right. But again, this is just on the House floor right now, and it is late in the session. It's been acknowledged by lawmakers, so we'll see if this goes anywhere. It could be a setup for next year, or it could be a campaigning.
Could be campaigning. It is an election year. Thanks, Joe.